Greetings, beloved. Welcome this evening to Togetherness Tea. I am your host, Anthony Powers, and I'm so delighted to be here with you. And guess who I am here with? Y'all know him, the man, the myth, the legend, the sexy, debonair doctor himself, master of mysteries, master of the mind, Dr. Payam Kade.
Anthony, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm
It's been a
divine, brother.
while.
How are you? It's been
I
a
am
minute. I
great,
missed
thank
you.
you.
How are you?
I miss you too. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. I'm here. It's
Yep.
good to see you.
There
How's
like
life treating
Anthony
you?
Davis's Achilles.
I'm just waiting for the summer. It's raining out here, so I'm just waiting for the summer to show up. But we gotta go through
Yes,
spring first, so we can
yes,
then
yes,
jump in the
yes.
pool.
Everything is one step at a time. It's true with the seasons. It's true with life as well. You
It
have to
is
go through the seasons. Sometimes you have to go.
absolutely.
Sometimes you have to go through the rain to appreciate the sunshine.
Absolutely. And, unfortunately, we do have seasons in life too. I guess anybody that has
Yes,
lived long enough, they know that is true. It, it,
indeed,
it, it,
indeed,
it,
indeed.
and you just have to
Yeah,
know how to ride the roller coaster.
yeah, you have
Equip
to be able to
equip
navigate. You have to be
yourself.
able to navigate it. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you got to be able to navigate the cold spells, and sometimes things get a little hot. So you got to be able to navigate both and work through
Hmm.
life. And then hopefully during the meantime, build up some happy memories along the way. But today we're talking about false memories. And
False
that's a
memories.
really interesting concept because like I've had conversations with people about events, and they see the and I know that they've seen them a completely different way than they've actually happened. And people build false narratives and false memories in their head sometimes to block traumas or also to block blame and also to block guilt. So I'd love to hear your perspective on this subject.
The false memories is not really a subject that most psychologists, therapists, or even scientists talk about, but there is extensive research on it, has been for a number of years. Um, it is a interesting topic because oftentimes we do have obviously good memories and bad memories from our past, right? We
Hmm.
tend to feel or tend to believe that what the memory that we have is like a video recorder, that we remember everything. Or
Yeah.
we tend to believe that we remember most of it. But sometimes that is completely false. We don't remember any of it. It's not actually true. It is what our brain is trying to create. For example, I'm not going to go too far with this. I'm just going to give an example. Let's say that I go to work today and then I remember, oh, I did turn on the washing machine. I'm good. And then I come back home, take a look at the washing machine. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't even turned it on. I haven't touched it.
Hmm.
Or I came home, I came inside and left my keys on the table. How many times has this happened to people, right? They
Yeah.
check with their memory and they think, oh, I did put it on the table. And then 2 hours later, they find the key in the car. It's in the car. They left it
Yeah.
in the car and came inside. So it is sometimes we just tend to believe things that is not true because our past history has told us it is. Every single day
Hmm.
when I come in, I bring my key in and put it on a certain table. One time that I don't do that, my brain tells me that you already have. It should be here. If it's not there, what happened to
Hmm.
it, right? So it is false memory. The other thing is that often people don't remember things the way it is. They remember it differently, or it may have never taken place. They go back searching their childhood. They go back 30, 40, whatever years that how old they are, and they check with that same video recording that they have from their past, and they assume that that video recording is correct. The problem is
Hmm.
our brain is very intelligent. Even if you remember bits and pieces of that, your brain basically fills the gap between the two events that
Yeah.
has taken place, right? And that is a creation of your mind. But when
Mm-hmm.
I say this to people, they actually think I'm nuts, that I'm not being truthful. Or what do you mean? I do. I vividly remember what happened to me when I was 10 years old. What are you talking about? I know what's going on. And when I tell them, that, are you sure? Let's check that. Let's see if you have
Yeah.
any evidence to prove what you actually believe in. And when you go
Yeah.
through it, number of sessions, then you realize it's not there. And then they check back and they're like, okay, so that was maybe a bad memory, and I filled it with a lot of other bad memories just to make sure that I have this video recording of that event and make sure that somebody's guilty for it. Somebody has done it to
Mm-hmm.
me. Or how
Yeah.
can I
Fill the
be
holes.
incorrect? It's so difficult if you tell yourself you're incorrect. Like if you look at, for example, if I there was a study on egg sandwich. They brought a lot of people in, and they told some of them that you actually did have a problem when you were a child uh, with egg sandwich. You could not digest it well. You were having difficulties with egg sandwich. Really, that simple. And then they would say, well, we checked your with your family members, and your mother or your father or whatever said that you did have this issue. When they brought a lot of different sandwich for them to pick 4 weeks later, the same people that were lied to, they did not pick the egg sandwich. They picked
Mm.
other sandwiches. And that was a complete false story that they told them. But they really believed it because they told them, we checked with your family. So it's sometimes false memory comes with a suggestion. You suggest
Mm-hmm.
to someone that was the case. And unfortunately, I think many of us have seen this, right? They get someone as a witness, they bring him to court, and they identify someone. They say, yeah, I saw him. He was the robber. He was the shooter. He was this. He was that. 10 years later, they found out with DNA that person was not even there. Was that
Yeah.
witness lying? No. It was oftentimes it's the suggestion that is coming from the police or the district attorney. They tell them, you did
Yeah.
see this person, didn't you? Was this the one that you saw? And they put them into that, fill the gap. You have seen someone, now fill the gap. Put that picture in there and tell us this is the suspect. And unfortunately, we see this
Yeah.
happening often, all the time. And that's very sad
Like in my
because
cousin Vinny.
there may be, yeah, yeah, exactly. There may have been some similarities, right? You may have actually
Yeah.
witnessed someone. There may have been some similarities. They were 6 feet tall. Maybe they had red shoes, whatever. But did you actually see the person? No. But when they put you in, when they bring you all these people and say, was he the suspect? You will say yes. And
Yeah.
that's false memory.
Yeah.
Because
Do you
you're
remember that from
filling
my
up the
cousin
gap.
Vinny?
And
When the people were filling, like the guy was filling the gap, he's like, yeah, like I was there, and I came back 5 minutes later. So like that, and then, like in Joe Pesci. So you're telling me that you you boil water faster than everybody else. You can make grits.
yeah,
You can make grits faster than everybody else. You know, like Joe Pesci. And then like I was watching another show recently, and this person had went into the afterlife, and they were going back over things in their life, and the way that this person remembered a certain incident that they blamed themselves for, like for why their parents didn't work. In their mind, they orchestrated it all in their memories, and like in so much of other things they did the rest of their life was based on this memory of them thinking that they orchestrated their parents breaking up. But then when the memory came back and was showed to them truly the way it really was, it was like they were just a kid, and it was actually their father. Like their father was going to like cheat on the mom regardless, but in the daughter's mind, it was her fault. It was she's the one who orchestrated
absolutely.
it in the way that she remembered it. So that false
Absolutely true.
memory can oftentimes like that false memory created guilt the rest of her life and created a pattern of destruction, of self-destruction, self-sabotage, relationship destruction, relationship sabotage because of a guilt based on a false memory that didn't exist. Um, is there
You
and
could
then
not say
also
that better.
another way?
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Let's call it another way I really see that taking place in a lot of people is societal false memories being created. and false narratives. So much of the evil that's done in society is based on, for instance, like slavery was slavery was explained as being acceptable because they wiped away all of the past history of civilizations of people of color, and they wiped those and they wiped that away from social memory, so that it was actually seeing, oh yeah, we're giving them civilization. So it, because a new false memory was created for society. And that's another way you see false memory, like on the macro scale, affecting the way that people live. Would you like to speak about any of those 2 points?
Absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned is very important because one of the reasons actually I did want to talk about false memories because I see parents unfortunately use suggestive words or they give suggestive clues, basically
Hmm.
sort of planted into the child's head about the other parent. For example, like
Hmm.
a parent might suggest, two parents, the child might come to a parent and say, did you guys fight when I was a kid? And the one parent might say, no, we really didn't. We had maybe very simple arguments from time to time, and no, not really, no fighting. They will go to the other parent, but because the other parent wants to make everything murky and make the other parent look bad, they make a suggestion to the child that is actually true. Yeah, we did have fights, or we did have a fight. Immediately they plant that seed. So the child, what does the child do? If there was even very simple incidents in her life, she's going to link it, or he's going to link it to that, to what the suggestive word was. So there were fights,
Hmm.
there were arguments, there were all discord. It may not have been. It may have been just one parent actually cheated on the other parent and decided to get a divorce and leave each other. That's it. It may have been just that. But the other parent, to look good and make the other parent look bad, is going to use that to as a weapon, not knowing that
Hmm.
the effects are going to be when the child grows up, is going to have all of this stuff you just talked about, feeling guilty. What was the fight about? Was it about
Yeah.
me? Was it about something I did? How did I play a part in this? How could my parents separate from each other? Not knowing the truth was one of your parents actually cheated on the other one, and the other one decided, your dad or your mom, whatever they decided, I can't live with you anymore. I'm done. I'm leaving. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Hmm.
And and the problem with this is oftentimes over time our memory gets more distorted, right? Because a long time has passed. So we have a very distorted view. Any suggestive words, any suggestive sentence, any suggestive language, ideas that you plant into somebody's head, they tend to take that and fill the gap with it. And that becomes
Yeah.
self-destructive. Like you said, they grow up and they tend to have problems with relationships. They will even have problems with themselves, not just relationship with others. They cannot even try to manifest their greatness, bring that out, use it, and glorify their own life because they feel so guilty. They feel so unwelcome, unwanted, unloved. They say, well, in this unjust world, what position do I have now? I'm not worth
Hmm.
it. I'm not worthy of any love. I'm not worthy of a relationship. I'm not worthy of
Yeah.
going to school and becoming somebody. I'm not worthy of anything. And that's very sad. I see that a lot. That's one of the reasons tonight I wanted to talk about this because this happens over and over, unfortunately.
I have a
People don't know
question.
better, so they just do whatever they think is right.
How often do the emotions that people are experiencing during incidents, how can those affect the falsehood of a memory being created based on the emotions?
hmm It happens a lot, actually. Um, it happens more with negative emotions than positive emotions. Why? Because
Hmm.
negative emotions have deep scars, oftentimes. They
Hmm.
leave a scar. So you tend to keep that memory with you longer because you have been hurt. You don't remember 50 times that you may have been to Disneyland and had a great time. But if you go to Disneyland one time and your parent slaps you across the face, I pretty much think that you're not going to remember, you're not going to forget that memory, right? It stays in your
Yeah.
head that I
You
went to
you
Disneyland
you
one
really
time and my
you
father
really won't
said,
forget if Mickey Mouse slaps you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we tend to keep false memories that are more associated with negative events that have taken place in our life. That's
Mm,
number one. Then we tend to make that a bigger picture sometimes. You may have had one negative experience with someone, but that negative experience has affected you in such a way that even good memories for you become bad. And that may sound
yeah,
silly, but it's true. Even if you had
yeah,
50 good memories with a friend, but you had one bad memory, every time you think of that friend, you have a feeling like, no, I don't think so. It didn't go that well.
yeah,
But it could have been just one incident. But the scar has been deep enough. It has scarred you deep enough that you, every time you think of any memory, you literally go back and touch that scar and you feel the pain.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you feel
One example
betrayed.
of
You
that for
feel
me is
unloved, uncared for.
one example, like you were speaking about food earlier. One example for that for me, like I hardly ever throw up, and I threw up like I didn't throw up from sixth grade until like my junior year of college. And when I did throw up, I happened to eat feta that day, so it took me a couple of years again before I really wanted to eat feta again, even though I had eaten feta so many times before that, and I still love feta now. It took me at least a year, probably. I'm not sure if it was 2 years, but it took me a while before I ate feta again, just because I associated that with vomiting, and I'm not used to vomiting. So like it's funny
Absolutely.
how it is like how little things like that, and how people let little things scar them and trigger them, and sometimes keeping them away from things that make them happy. What are some of the ways that people can explore and examine and test memories to see how if they're truthful, if they're false, to check the clarity of them?
One of the ways I think it's best to check on, especially negative memories, is to question or ask someone in your family or friends that have been unbiased, that you have checked
Mm,
them, know that they have no bias against the other person. If you're going to ask questions about a divorce or separation from one parent, that person is probably biased because they want to
yeah.
make themselves look better. And even if they're not trying to make the other person look bad, they're definitely trying to make themselves look better. So that's biased. You probably want to go ask your aunt or ask your uncle or ask your brother or your sister about maybe if they have any recollection of it, and then
Hmm.
start from there. And if you can't even get to that, I would suggest that sometimes psychotherapy would definitely help, because
Okay.
once you go through your memories and you check every single one of them and you bring them back out, the therapist has a chance to take you back and travel into your memory to see how far can you go, how much of that can you remember, how is that related to what you're experiencing right now in your life. So it is, I think it's important to do that. The other thing is by hypnotherapy, you can definitely use hypnotherapy to get to that. Like, a lot of hypnotherapists have the ability to take you into a what I call a stage of unawareness, but awareness. Like you're not aware of what's really taking place at the moment, but you can definitely travel back into your mind and find out what has taken place. I had a client here who, for most of his life, loved flying. Then he had a incident on a flight where there was turbulence and he was delayed for 8 hours or whatever, and then he ended up being in another country. He
Yeah.
said 4 days later, when he wanted to come back, he had such an anxiety. He said, "I'm going
Mm,
to find other means to come back into United States. I will go rent a car and drive all the way from Canada to New York because of that fear." All of his life, he
wow.
had absolutely no problem for 35 years or more, no problem with flying. All of a sudden, one incident scarred him that bad or scared him that bad, that memory to this day, he does not take flights that are longer than 1 hour. He doesn't.
Wow.
He says, I,
You
I
know,
don't go anywhere. I don't travel anymore. He became sort of paralyzed with that
yeah.
experience.
Do you know what the traumatic experience of what it reminds me of what they do to people's memories? Have you ever had like a memory card or something that's partially corrupted, and you watch a video and it starts pixelating? It almost looks like remember when you were a kid and you try to look at the bad channels and everything's like there's a nipple over here and everything's over there, how everything's like moved around, like and you
Hmm.
can't really tell exactly where everything is. It's all mispixelated. that's how bad memories, that's how traumatic experiences will do to our memories sometimes. It'll corrupt the
And
data.
yeah,
And
you see, you
and
brought a
it's
great
really
example.
yeah, and like it's really important for us not to try to, like you said, falsely fill in the pixelations, falsely trying to put through the pixelations. If we don't have correct information on how the data or something, or like you said, like another data point to balance it and compare it with, then then it's best to not just try to fill in the data, especially to fill in the data with negativity. I would love to
Hmm.
hear you break that down
You
more.
know, I think this happens to all of us. Like you said, you watch a video or you watch a movie, and then there is like maybe 10 seconds or 5 seconds when there is no voice, right? You don't hear anything,
Yeah,
or you don't see a picture, and the picture jumps from one scene to another.
yeah,
Automatically, what does your brain do? You immediately start thinking, what did they say? What happened? And then I bet you most of us, without even thinking or knowing, our brain tries to fill the gap because we're going to
yeah,
lose all of this picture, all of this video, all the movie that we're watching. We want to make sure
yeah.
that we fill the gap so we can catch on with the rest of the movie, right? We can understand,
Yeah.
connect the past to the present, even if it's 10-second gap. And this
Hmm.
unfortunately happens a lot, that people do that, or you may not have maybe listened carefully and you didn't pick up the words, and then your wife or your spouse or your girlfriend, whoever is sitting there, says, no, that's not what they said, this is what it said, because you were
Hmm.
not paying attention, you were not present, you do not really know what took place. Unfortunately, people have false memories. They have not even been there, it hasn't even taken place, but they think it has. And then if they take that and run with it, and they're not even willing to put
Hmm.
themselves in check or even accept the fact that, yes, I may have a false memory, whatever I believe may not be 100% factual or truth, then they have a chance to examine it. Does that mean every single second you have to put yourself in check? No, that's not what I'm saying. But if
Yeah.
specifically, especially if you have a bad
Check
memory
yourself.
about, yeah, if you have a bad memory about something that has taken place in your life, that is when you need to put yourself in check and make sure
Yeah.
that that is not that doesn't cripple you. Um, it happens more often than we believe because, like I said earlier, every time you go check back in your memory, you actually believe that I have a video recorder in my head that has recorded the event. I know what happened. And even
Hmm.
if some people come and tell you, no, it didn't, you're going to say, yes, it did. I know what happened. And it's actually not true. Just like the example I gave earlier. I turned on the dishwasher before I went to work. I come back and I'm like, oh, dishwasher is not even on. I didn't turn it on,
Yeah.
but I truly believe that I did. Or I set the alarm before I
Yeah.
left the house. I come back, door is even open. It has happened to me many times. I come back home, my door is completely open. And then I tell myself, what are you talking about? I closed the door, I locked the door before I left. And I checked the entire house if somebody's here, and then nobody's here. So I know, oh, I didn't lock the door, I just left.
All right. So, question. So we've mentioned that routine can create false memories. We've mentioned that trauma can create false memories. I also wanted to know about substances. When people overindulge in substances, how can that affect false memories?
Not only some substances actually create false memories, they actually create a false presence. You're
Mhm.
here now and you're hallucinating, or you're becoming delusional. You're seeing things that, right? You see things that are not even there. It's not happening in front
Yeah.
of you, but you really think it does. You may even experience, my God, why is the TV so loud? And TV is not even loud. It's your
Yeah.
sensory motor that is experiencing that. Your sensory motor on hearing is becoming more active now that your other sensory motors are shutting down, and you're hearing more louder
I also
noise.
see that
And
happening to
this
people
happens
who are
often with
sick.
drugs. Yes, it does. It actually
I also
happens.
see that like
Yeah.
people who are dealing with health issues. I know like one of my friends when who has lupus. When they're like dealing with a lupus flare up, sometimes they're extra sensitive to sounds. Things will appear
Mhm.
louder to them than they really are. and that's another issue. So health, the things that we know that create false memories, we know health, routine,
Yep.
um, trauma, and
Psychological
substances.
disorders, substances and
Yes,
psychological disorders. If someone has
yes,
bipolar with psychotic features, they may have delusional mentality. They may have delusional, they may have hallucinations, they may have auditory hearings that may not even be there. So they create a false memory in their own head when it actually never happened. Like they might think somebody's here to get me, somebody's here to, they just followed me all the way from work to home. Nobody has followed them. But because they have a psychological disorder, they actually have that memory that somebody did follow me. And they may even make a picture of it seriously in their head. If I ask a client, so who was following you? They're going to say two guys and they were both in shorts. And
yeah,
then I'm like, so what did you see them first? How do you know they were following you? Are they outside? They probably are. They come up with
they
stuff
probably
that you're
are.
like, you freak out.
Yeah,
You're like, what's going on? But this is so the false memory is not just, it's not just filling up a gap, but oftentimes you actually create an event in your head that has never existed. And
yeah,
that's obviously because of all this stuff. And a lot of substances out there, we know that a lot of substances that people use these days, unfortunately, even some marijuana that is laced. If they use too much marijuana, sometimes they may even experience hallucinations. And that's a fact. It's just, it's there. Or a lot of alcohol. Alcohol induced can create hallucinations, and you can actually see things that are not
like in
there.
Dumbo,
It's
pink
not in
elephants
front
on
of you.
parade.
You remember it very well. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it is then it's the time for people to go get some professional help when that happens, unfortunately.
beautiful. Well, thank you for your professional help, and
Thank you.
I know like our time is almost up, and I thank you so much for giving us your valuable time, your valuable insight. Any more, any last points, any last advice, any last words you'd love to give to our viewers today?
Uh, I just want to tell your viewers, if you're a parent or you're going to be a parent, please, please, please be mindful of what you actually put into your kid's head because it may last with them to the day they die. So if you don't know, or you're not sure, or you're giving suggestive words or suggestions, or you're trying to fill their brain with something that you think is going to give you, is going to be in your advantage, it may be not be in their advantage. You may be actually
Yeah.
causing a lot of distress, a lot of discord, a lot of heartache for them that could last a long time. They may not even be able to fix that in therapy. So please don't do that. That's not what a
Yes.
parent does. That is not
Yes.
what a
For
parent does.
parents and also people in romantic relationships, and also people with any authority position, any coaches, any teachers,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
any
you.
teachers,
Police
any
officers,
like
even.
if police officers, yes, if you're in a position
Absolutely.
where you were of authority or a position where of high levels of influence, make sure that you use your influence correctly and wisely and with care and with comfort, because you don't want to be the reason why those around you get damaged. And you're
Absolutely.
the
Do not
reason why
create a
we're
nat.
so
Thank you. Do not create a narrative that you know it's false too, and feed it into people. Politicians do that all the time.
exactly.
They create a narrative and sell it to people to scare them, make them feel that they're, oh my God, if this happens, my life is over. And they actually run that video in their head over and over and over. They tend to believe it. And it's very destructive. Stop
Hmm.
doing that, please. Yeah, be more
Beautiful.
loving, caring, and don't do crazy stuff.
Yes,
Nice
yes.
talking to you.
And if it's crazy, make sure it's crazy love.
Yeah, exactly. Do that. Do suggestive
Yes,
words like that. That would be great. Have a wonderful
yes.
night. Good to see you.
I
I
love
hope
you,
this was
brother.
helpful. I
Thank
don't
you
know.
so much.
I love you
That's
too.
Dr. Payam
Good to
Kade.
see you.
Check him out on all of his social
You look
media.
great.
Check him out on his website. Phone call. That
Have a
man,
good
that
night.
man is here for you. That man is a beautiful man. Uh, and you are a beautiful audience and beautiful viewers. And we're so overjoyed and so thankful to have you here watching us here on Togetherness TV. We're about to have our 1 year anniversary coming up. So that's on the 20th of this month. So thank you all for a year of viewership and a year of service. And for those who are just now catching up on us, you'll be with us for another year. We love you. So much more coming up, so much more programming, and we shall see you soon. As always, remind you, be divine and you are loved.